Admiral Krell's crimson eyes swept across the Galactic Assembly, his voice booming through the crystalline chamber. They are nothing but a myth, primitive apes who nuked themselves extinct 4 centuries ago. Laughter echoed from 1,000 alien throats as the holographic display showed Earth, a small blue dot marked uninhabited extinct species. The galactic map pulsed with conquered worlds, all bearing the Zorth Dominion's crimson banner, while Earth's system glowed unmarked virgin territory ripe for the taking. Krell's clawed hand slammed against the podium. The Sol system will be ours within 7 rotations. The Zorth invasion fleet, 700 warships, strong hummed with anticipation in the void. Officers across the Armada received their orders with confidence bordering on arrogance, their species having conquered half the galaxy without meaningful resistance. Begin hyperspace preparations, Krell commanded from his flagship's bridge, surrounded by holographic displays showing Earth's projected resources. Battle-hardened veterans chuckled at the assignment. Colonizing a ghost system seemed almost insulting to their skills. The stars stretched into lines as the greatest military force in the galaxy vanished toward what they believed was an empty world. Their emergence near Jupiter was anticlimactic, the gas giant storm swirling indifferently around the alien fleet. AI scanners confirmed what they expected: barren planets, minimal technological signatures, electromagnetic patterns consistent with a world recovering from nuclear holocaust. Earth appears harmless, Admiral, the tactical officer reported, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Spectroscopic analysis revealed abundant water, oxygen, and mineral wealth, with no signs of advanced civilization. Krell nodded approvingly at the readings. Begin orbital descent. Deploy advanced scouts to former population centers. Drone pods descended like metallic rain across Earth's surface. Nevada deserts where cities once stood, Amazon jungles hiding ancient ruins, Central Asian steppes marked with radiation scars. They found what appeared to be archaeological sites, crumbling monuments to a dead civilization that had clearly destroyed itself in atomic fire. Yet among the ruins stood strange metal monoliths, their surfaces etched with symbols that pulsed with residual energy. When a probe attempted to interface with one in Nevada, it exploded in a cascade of electromagnetic feedback. Unknown defensive pattern detected, came the confused report from the surface teams. Krell scoffed from his flagship's command throne, watching the explosion replay on his tactical display. Their ancient toys still have some bite. How quaint. The destruction of one probe meant nothing to his massive fleet. Such relics were common on dead worlds. Automated systems running on fading power cells maintain aggressive posture over all major continents. These museum pieces cannot threaten ships that have conquered star systems. His officers laughed, sharing jokes about extinct species trying to defend themselves from beyond the grave. Then the impossible happened with surgical precision that spoke of careful planning. A human signal cut through their military-grade encrypted communications, bypassing layers of security that had never been breached. This is Earth Defense Network. You are not invited to our system. Krell's mandibles clicked in confusion as his bridge erupted in warning alarms. Tactical displays flashing red as energy signatures appeared across the planet's surface. Hidden launch silos began rising from what their scans had shown as empty deserts and ocean floors. The Nevada monolith, still smoking from the probe's destruction, suddenly blazed with power as similar structures activated worldwide. Energy spikes flared from the moon's dark side, revealing installations that should have been impossible to hide from their deep space sensors. Mars' polar ice caps cracked open, exposing weapon platforms that had been dormant for centuries. Impossible. Krell roared, his voice echoing through the flagship's corridors as officers scrambled at their stations. Our quantum scanners detected nothing: no heat signatures, no electromagnetic emissions, no signs of industrial civilization. His tactical officer's voice cracked with fear as new contacts appeared on their screens. Admiral, the readings suggest massive installations throughout the system that have been cloaked, using technology we don't recognize. Earth's retaliation struck with the fury of a species that had spent for centuries preparing for this moment. Orbital, kinetic, Rod's tungsten spears accelerated to near light speed launch from hidden platforms throughout the solar system, their trajectories calculated with inhuman precision. 3 Zorth destroyers exploded before they could react, their quantum shields crumpling like paper against weapons that struck with the force of asteroids. The flagship's sensors screamed warnings as more launchers were detected from positions that shouldn't exist. Evasive maneuvers, Krell commanded. But the rods moved too fast for ships designed to fight conventional space battles. Human war satellites began uncloaking from Neptune's shadow, revealing an entire battle fleet that had been waiting in the outer darkness, like patient spiders. Sleek vessels with hulls that seemed to bend light around them emerged from concealment, their weapon signatures unlike anything in the Zorth database. The alien armada scrambled to reorganize, as scanner reports flooded in Earth's defensive network, was massive, sophisticated, and had been watching them since they entered the system. "These aren't primitive weapons," Krell whispered, watching his formations break apart. "This is military technology, centuries beyond what our intelligence reported." A second wave of attacks came from directions they hadn't thought to defend against. The asteroid belt itself seemed to come alive as camouflaged installations revealed themselves, launching swarms of fighter craft that moved with impossible coordination. Each human pilot seemed linked to the others through some form of quantum entanglement, their tactics flowing like water around Zorth countermeasures. "They're not fighting like individual ships," his tactical officer reported in growing panic. "Their entire fleet operates as a single organism." Krell watched in horror as his supposedly superior technology was outmaneuvered by enemies, who fought as if they shared a single mind. The truth began revealing itself through intercepted human transmissions, fragments of communication that spoke of careful preparation spanning centuries. 400 years ago, immediately after their supposed nuclear extinction, Earth's survivors had gone underground not in desperation, but as part of a coordinated deception. Every major nation had contributed to Project Phoenix, pooling resources and knowledge to create the greatest strategic deception in galactic history. They had recovered alien technology from crashed vessels, reverse-engineered propulsion systems, and used that knowledge to hide their true development from any species that might come calling. The extinct civilization had never been extinct at all. They had deliberately erased their electromagnetic signature from space, using advanced stealth technology to become invisible to galactic surveillance. While alien species fought each other for territory and resources, humanity had been quietly establishing bases throughout the solar system. Europa's ice concealed vast manufacturing facilities. Titan's methane clouds hid shipyards. Luna's far side housed weapon platforms that could crack moons. Deep within Earth's crust, entire cities had grown in secret, populated by generations who had never seen natural sunlight, but had been raised from birth to wage interstellar war. Human command ships now materialized from the asteroid belt where they had waited in perfect stillness, their hulls gleaming with adaptive armor that shifted color and texture like living metal. These weren't the crude vessels of a recently spacefaring species. They were Predator-class warships, designed by minds that understood their enemies' weaknesses better than the aliens understood them themselves. AI-assisted pilots and gene-enhanced bodies launched from hidden carriers, their reflexes boosted to superhuman levels, and their minds linked to quantum computers that processed tactical data faster than biological neurons could fire. The space battle erupted across Earth's magnetosphere with a violence that made galactic conflicts look like children's games. The Zorth fleet, masters of 1,000 conquered worlds, found themselves systematically dismantled by tactics they couldn't comprehend. Human ships moved with fluid precision, their formations shifting like flocks of birds while maintaining devastating fire patterns. Each weapon strike was calculated for maximum psychological impact. They weren't just destroying ships, they were breaking the alien fleet's will to fight. Admiral Krell screamed at his tactical display as another squadron vanished in nuclear fire. How? This was supposed to be a dead system. They were extinct for centuries ago. His flagship shuddered as human fighters swarmed around it like angry hornets, their plasma weapons carving through Zorth shields as if they were made of soap rather than quantum-hardened energy fields. The aliens' superior numbers meant nothing when their enemies could predict their every move. Having studied Zorth tactics from captured vessels and intercepted communications for generations, every weakness in their technology had been catalogued, every flaw in their strategy memorized by human strategists who had made destroying the Zorth Dominion their life's work. The tide turned completely when human technology revealed its true horror weapons that the galaxy's greatest scientists had deemed impossible. Gravity manipulation fields began warping spacetime around sections of the alien fleet, creating localized distortions that crushed ships under their own mass or flung them helplessly through twisted dimensional space. Vessels that had survived the destruction of stars found themselves torn apart by forces that violated every law of physics. The Zorth understood. Their weapons are rewriting reality around us. His science officer screamed before his console exploded in sparks. Earth's quantum AI networks, grown in secret laboratories and fed with centuries of alien communication intercepts, launched their own attack through digital space. Zorth military encryption, considered unbreachable, fell within minutes as artificial minds that had been designed specifically to crack alien codes tore through their security like it was paper. Ship systems began turning against their crews, navigation computers steering vessels into collision courses, while weapon systems locked onto allied targets. The careful discipline of the Zorth fleet collapsed into chaos as friendly fire erupted throughout their formations. Nuclear weapons, dismissed by galactic civilization as primitive tools of a dead species, detonated with antimatter cores that had been developed in Earth's hidden research stations. Each warhead carried the destructive potential of a small star. Their explosions visible from the outer planets as Zorth battleships simply ceased to exist. The energy signatures were impossible matter-antimatter reactions contained and focused by technology that shouldn't exist on a world that had supposedly nuked itself to extinction. Krell's flagship bridge erupted in sparks and smoke as systems failed under electromagnetic pulses that seemed designed to specifically target Zorth technology. "All ships, emergency retreat," Krell commanded, his voice hoarse with desperation as he watched the greatest fleet in galactic history being systematically annihilated. "Execute hyperspace jumps immediately. We need reinforcements from the homeworld." But even as his officers worked frantically at their consoles, new warnings appeared on the tactical display. Earth's defensive grid had anticipated this exact response warp inhibitors, activated throughout the solar system, creating a cage of twisted space that made faster-than-light travel impossible. The alien fleet was trapped in a system that had become their tomb. Krell's escape pod ejected from the dying flagship, its emergency beacon broadcasting his identity and rank in hopes of securing safe passage. He watched through the small viewport as his mighty armored S-700 ships that had conquered half the galaxy burned in the darkness of space around a world that was supposed to be empty. The pod's autopilot guided him toward what its sensors identified as a rescue vessel, though the ship's configuration didn't match anything in the Zorth database. As the docking clamps engaged and the airlock cycled open, he prepared to face whatever captors awaited. Standing in the airlock was something that shouldn't exist: a human being, old and scarred, wearing a uniform that bore no resemblance to the primitive military gear their intelligence files described. The man's eyes held depths that spoke of centuries of patience, of plans laid across generations and finally coming to fruition. "Admiral Krell," the human said, his voice carrying the calm authority of someone who had already won. "We've been expecting you." Behind him stood others of his species, their faces bearing the same patient satisfaction of predators who had successfully completed a hunt. "Myth," the human commander continued, as he gestured toward the viewport where Earth glowed like a blue jewel surrounded by burning wreckage. "No, Admiral, we didn't become extinct. We just waited for you to forget we existed while we prepared for your arrival." The old man's smile was neither cruel nor kind. It was the expression of someone who had dedicated his entire existence to this single moment of victory. "Your species has a saying about sleeping giants. You should have let this one sleep." Through the pod's viewports, Krell could see the impossible sight of Earth's cities beginning to light up as orbital platforms uncloaked throughout the system, revealing the true scope of humanity's deception. What the aliens had taken for a dead world was actually a fortress that had been for centuries in the making, populated by billions of humans who had lived their entire lives in preparation for this day. The myth, he realized with dawning horror, had been their own arrogance in assuming that any species could truly be extinct, while their homeworld remained intact. Earth's transmission began broadcasting across every inhabited system in the galaxy, carried by communication networks that the aliens had thought were secure. The human commander's voice spoke with quiet authority that carried to the farthest reaches of known space. "This is humanity. We are the myth you forgot to fear. We are the species you dismissed as extinct primitives. We remember every slight, every dismissal, every moment when you laughed at the thought of our survival. The galaxy belongs to the strong, and we have been growing strong in the darkness, while you grew complacent in the light." On 1,000 worlds, alien governments received the transmission and felt their certainties crumble. The Zorth Dominion, seemingly invincible just hours before, had been completely destroyed by a species that wasn't supposed to exist. If humans could deceive galactic civilization for 4 centuries and annihilate the greatest fleet ever assembled, what else might they be capable of? Panic spread through the galactic community as the implications became clear. They had been living next to apex predators who had been watching them, studying them, preparing to reclaim their place among the stars. The Zorth Empire collapsed within days as subject races rose in rebellion, inspired by the impossible victory and terrified of human retaliation. Worlds that had submitted to alien rule for centuries suddenly remembered their own capacity for warfare, their own dreams of freedom. The careful balance of galactic power shattered as every species began to wonder what other extinct civilizations might be preparing to return from the grave. Trade routes collapsed, alliances crumbled, and the galaxy entered a new age of uncertainty where the greatest threat was the unknown. Humanity emerged from 4 centuries of self-imposed exile not as the prey they had once been, but as something far more dangerous: apex predators who had spent generations perfecting the art of interstellar warfare. Their fleets moved through space with the confidence of species that had never known defeat, because they had engineered every aspect of their return to ensure victory. The scared refugees who had once fled to the stars were gone, replaced by warriors who had made patience and preparation their greatest weapons. In the solar winds above Earth, humanity's banner flew against the stars, not as a symbol of a species returning to galactic civilization, but as a warning that some myths are too dangerous to test. The galaxy had laughed at the story of human extinction, dismissing it as just another tale of a primitive species that had destroyed itself. Now they understood the truth. The most dangerous enemies are those who let you believe they're already dead, giving them all the time they need to perfect the art of revenge. Admiral Krell, the last survivor of the greatest fleet in galactic history, spent his remaining days in human custody writing reports that no one would believe. His accounts of Earth's deception, of humanity's patient preparation, of weapons that violated the laws of physics, all of it read like the fantasies of a broken mind rather than historical fact. But across the galaxy, the burning wreckage of 700 Zorth warships served as permanent proof that sometimes the most dangerous myths are the ones we create about ourselves.